Well, hello, everyone. My name is Pauline Haycock, and I'm the celebrant for today's service. And before we start, would you please, if you have a cell phone, turn off your ringer for the duration of the service? We would sure appreciate that. And the family's going to be taking Carmela to be interred with Joe immediately following the service. We won't be gone long, and so you're invited to stay and have refreshments, have a coffee or a tea. I'm going to try and get us there and back so the family can spend some time with you. I know they're looking forward to sitting down and visiting with you. So at this time, I'd like to ask you to please rise as the family comes to join us. Psalm 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So let's ask him to be with us today during this difficult time. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. And we know that all life is precious to you, and so we thank you for Carmela, for the time that you gave her and the blessing and the joy that she was to those that knew her. Lord, we know that saying goodbye is not a one-time action, but something that occurs gradually over time. So I ask that you will continue to be with this family and Carmela's friends after today's service as they walk through the path of loss and grief. Please give them courage and humility to seek and to find you. Lord, I ask that you comfort her family and that they may be encouraged in all that we do today. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, on behalf of Carmela's family, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your attendance today, even if you're attending online. I think it's wonderful that people will be tuning in from around the world today to be with us. So today we've gathered to say goodbye to Carmela Spataro. And I'd like to start our time together with a 3-line poem from Nobel Prize-winning Italian poet Salvatore Quasimodo. It's called "And Suddenly It's Evening." Everyone is alone at the heart of the earth, pierced by a ray of sunshine. And suddenly, it's evening. Quasimodo is reflecting on how life can feel brief and fragile, and says we're all like people walking alone for a moment in the sun, and then suddenly, it's evening. Death comes. It's a way of saying that life passes quickly, and before we know it, it's over. Now, Carmela passed away January 15th, 2026 at 89 years of age, and I'm sure that she would have been able to relate to the meaning of that poem. I am certain that it seemed to her that it was only yesterday that she married Giuseppe. Left behind her mother and her family in Sicily and headed for a new life in Canada. I'm sure it seems like just yesterday that Angelo was born, or that their little family made their way west to make a home here in Dawson Creek. Did Carmela shed tears of loneliness or regret for having left behind all that was familiar? Or did she thrill at the excitement of the adventure? I've always held in high regard those immigrant families of yesteryear, because I don't know if I would have been so brave to leave behind all that was familiar and those that I loved. So today really is a celebration of a life well lived, but it isn't necessarily a joyous occasion, as celebrations usually are. Today is a bittersweet day. Bitter, of course, because of Carmela's passing and the realization that she is gone, but sweet because of the memories of her that will be shared and the joy that she brought to those that had the privilege to be gathered around in her circle of influence. So just who was Carmela Spataro? She was a one-of-a-kind lady who had many unique qualities and whose history shaped the woman that you all knew and loved. And keep in mind, her history includes each one of you here today. I enjoyed Angelo and Dion's description of Carmela. They used words like strong, traditional, confident, courageous, assertive, but the best description was a force to be reckoned with. And let me tell you, I can't wait to hear the eulogy, just to hear about that. What Angelo and Dion didn't tell me was that Carmela was a bit of a card shark. She was skilled at the Italian card game of Scopa. Oh, I didn't even know how to pronounce it. I'm so glad you helped me with that. I've never heard of this game, but I hear that it requires its own distinctive set of cards, and Carmela was playing Scopa right up to her last days. I think that's exciting that she was able to do that and share it with her family and friends in that. Author Thomas Lloyd Qualls said this: "The simplest things are often overlooked, and yet it is the simplest things that are the most essential." Well, I believe with all my heart that good parents are essential, and good mothers often go overlooked. But today we are going to stop and honor a woman who was essential to her family and her close friends. And I'd just like to read a verse from a Helen Steiner Rice poem. "A mother's love is something that no one can explain. It is made of deep devotion and of sacrifice and pain. It is endless and unselfish and enduring, come what may, for nothing can destroy it or take that love away." So with those words in mind, I would like to invite Angelo and Dion to come and share the eulogy with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines a force to be reckoned with as someone who is strong and cannot be ignored. Throughout her entire life, Carmela Spataro was a force to be reckoned with.
Carmela was born on February 9th, 1936, to Vincenzo Caruba and Antonietta Cacciatore. In Jopolo Giangascio, Agrigento, Italy. She was the seventh of 8 children and spent her childhood in a small Sicilian mountain village. Even at a young age, Carmela was very strong-willed. Every day, Carmela's mother would walk her to the small schoolroom in the village, and every day Carmela would run, hide, and avoid attending school. As Carmela grew older, she babysat, assisted with the family farm, and eventually provided care for her aging widowed mother. Carmela married Joe, the love of her life, on March 28, 1968, in Jopolo Giangascio. As newlyweds, Carmela and Joe traveled to Canada and settled into married life in Montreal. What courage that must have taken for Carmela to leave everything she'd ever known, her mother, her siblings, her friends, and her beloved Italian culture, to move to a foreign country with a different language and different customs. Carmela never lost her Italian heritage, and it remained an important part of her. However, she quickly adapted to a new language, cold, snowy winters, and the big city living of Montreal. She was immediately and warmly welcomed into the large Spataro Russo clan, where many fond memories were made.
Shortly after their arrival in Montreal, Canada, Carmela and Joe were blessed with their beloved son, Angelo, who was Carmela's pride and joy. In 1972, as a family of 3, they traveled by train to Dawson Creek, British Columbia. They soon became established in their family home, where Carmela lived happily and comfortably for the remainder of her life. Carmela was so proud of her son, she would never miss an opportunity to tell everyone about Angelo, his schooling, and what a nice boy he was. She would always beam and exclaim, "Angelo, a nice boy." In true Italian style, much of Carmela's life revolved around food. She made a lot of wonderful dishes and treats, and she expected you to eat them. Carmela's house always smelled like fresh bread, buns, and loaves. If you timed your visit just right, you may even have been lucky enough to experience some of her delicious fried bread.
Carmela was well known for her amazing sheet pan pizza, lasagna, sponge cake, incredible sausage rolls called miscategge, and spinci, deep-fried treats which will be at the luncheon served today. She would serve her Italian specialties to myself and my friends when we were growing up as teenage boys, and we welcomed the opportunity to feast on her Italian masterpieces. Our house was always popular after a basketball game when appetites were strong. The table would be set with 6 glasses and 2 pitchers of freshly made Good Host iced tea, as a group of boys would be parched after playing hours of basketball. The food covered the table and was always more than what we could eat. Mama's food supply outlasted our hunger.
Spaghetti sauce was another specialty of Carmela's. It tasted like no other. For years, Carmela made her special sauce, and for years, she refused to divulge the secret ingredient. After many delicious meals and after years and years of asking, Carmela finally disclosed the secret ingredient to Angelo's cousin, Allison. The special ingredient that made her spaghetti sauce absolutely incredible was mint. Not only had the sauce mystery been solved, but it also explained why there was always a large supply of mint in the garden. Another specialty food item that Carmela was well known for was her crema, a custard-like dessert with ladyfingers. It was an Italian delight that she would make and share with friends. But as her friends would quickly find out, it was not complete until the sprinkles were added. Carmela would often bring a crema to a friend's house, and just as they were about to serve it, she would tell them, "Wait a minute." Then she would dig into her purse and pull out a jar of sprinkles. She would put the finishing touches on the Italian dessert, and it could then be served.
Carmela was always concerned about feeding her loved ones and wanted to ensure that everyone had enough to eat. From the moment you walked in the house, she would offer you a variety of goodies, ranging from coffee and cookies to pizza and other main dishes. She was relentless and would not easily take no for an answer.
Missing mealtime was something that bothered Carmela immensely. If she feared that her son Angelo had forgotten or missed his lunch, she would call him at the high school cafeteria at lunchtime in front of all of his friends and classmates to question him about his lunch status. Although relieved after finding out that Angelo had ate lunch in the cafeteria, Carmela was less than satisfied with this information, as she still believed that her lunch would have been better and healthier for her growing teenage boy. Carmela made wonderful lunches. When I moved to Dawson Creek, Carmela made my lunch for my first day of work. I felt completely blessed. Not many people can say that their mother-in-law in her late 80s made a packed special lunch for their first day, but I can.
In addition to making and sharing food, Carmela also enjoyed eating. Her food preferences ranged from calamari and shrimp to a salad of salted sardines, oranges, and garlic, to pizza and almost any sort of pickled vegetable.
Carmela absolutely loved the Tim Hortons Smile cookies. She lit up every time she saw one. She would immediately smile and exclaim, "Oh boy!"
Carmela was a hard worker. She was responsible for all of the house and yard work while her husband was away at camp. This included snow shoveling in the winter and grass cutting and weeding in the summertime. She was such a conscientious weeder that no weed was safe around Carmela. She would use screwdrivers to remove all the weeds in the garden, the yard, and the sidewalk. Approximately 4 flat screwdrivers have been turned into round tips due to her vigorous weeding. She also worked various jobs, including dishwashing and food preparation at Papa Giorgio's and janitorial work at multiple business locations in Dawson Creek. She was well known and respected for her hard work and professionalism.
However, her most favorite job was babysitting. She loved the opportunity to provide childcare for many special children over the years. She also welcomed the opportunity to introduce them to her wonderful Italian food, which was enjoyed by all. Many of these children stayed in touch with Carmela, and each child held a special place in Carmela's heart. When Carmela was not working, she enjoyed many different activities. She would often be found with a pair of knitting needles, transforming colorful yarn into useful, stylish slippers. Carmela gave me a pair of these special slippers on the first day I met her, and I will treasure them always. Carmela loved to spend time in both her vegetable and flower gardens. She would spend hours watering and weeding her flower beds, anxiously awaiting for the first bud to appear and the first flower to bloom. She enjoyed sharing flower seeds with neighbors and friends. The harvest season kept her very busy, as she would spend hours harvesting the vegetables and cooking and/or freezing them. She especially loved Italian fava beans. When Carmela was no longer able to grow and harvest them on her own, we would help her to water, weed, and harvest them. At 89 years of age, Carmela was still shucking her beloved fava beans. We thoroughly enjoyed shelling the beans with her and watching her grab a taste here and there.
The Italian card game Scopa was a constant in Carmela's life, from the very beginning to the very end. When she was a young girl in Sicily, she would attend church and then rush home with a friend to play Scopa. During her courtship with her husband Joe, they would routinely be found playing Scopa at her sister's house. During her married life, Carmela and Joe played Scopa with their Italian friends on a regular basis for decades. After her husband passed, Carmela continued to fill her days with her beloved Italian card game, spending hours playing Scopa with friends, charades, and her special friend Susan. Carmela would often be found relaxing in her lounge chair, watching her favorite soap operas. Back in the day, during the week, she would take an afternoon break and watch The Edge of Night. Then she would end her regular Friday night routine, and at the end of the week, after supper on a Friday, she'd make her way into the living room with Papa, where the iconic theme music for the TV show Dallas could be heard playing throughout the house as she settled in for an hour of soap opera drama.
Carmela had a bold and unique sense of fashion. She enjoyed lots of color, and this was reflected in her wardrobe. You would often see her in bright floral dresses and bold colors such as purple and gold. She loved shine and sparkle, and she truly believed the more, the better. In her younger years, you would often see her wearing dresses and high heels. She liked to keep her hair styled short and dark in color, and she always accessorized each outfit perfectly. Even in her later years, she prioritized her appearance and ensembles. A few years ago, Carmela attended one of my work functions. She had her hair styled just perfectly and chose a beautiful purple outfit. As she walked out of the house to attend the function, Angelo noticed that she was wearing a pair of high heels. Although perfect for the outfit, the high heels were less than perfect for an 86-year-old lady who had already broken one hip. Angelo did the only sensible thing and made his mother change into suitable footwear, a pair of flat sandals. Carmela was not at all pleased with this wardrobe change.
And you guys all know that I got the look in that moment, right? Before we got in the car.
In keeping with her Italian culture, Carmela wore only black clothing once she became a widow. All of her bright, beautiful clothing was put away, and only black items were worn. However, Carmela made one special exception to this black clothing only rule. She told me it was a surprise and that she wanted to wear a special dress for our wedding. The most perfect, vibrant purple dress was chosen. At approximately 11 p.m. on the evening before the wedding, Carmela decided that she needed to have hot pink nails to go with her purple dress. Unfortunately, it was too late to schedule a manicure appointment at the salon. Thus, she enlisted the assistance of her son, Angelo. Carmela closely supervised as Angelo painted each stroke on each nail. In true Carmela fashion, as she supervised his nail painting, she repeatedly told him to stay between the lines. On our special day, Carmela looked absolutely radiant as the mother of the groom in her gorgeous purple dress with her stylish hot pink nails. Carmela truly was a force to be reckoned with. She was strong and could not be ignored. She was stubborn, brave, and courageous. Carmela knew her mind, and she knew what she wanted. Once she set her mind on something, it was very difficult, if not impossible, to sway her.
Even though Carmela could not understand or read English, she made up her mind that she was going to travel back to Italy alone to see her mother one last time. It could not have been easy navigating the large airports and crowds with the language barrier, but once she decided she was going to do it, she did in fact do the long trip all by herself. Nothing deterred Carmela. When Joe was away at camp, she would find her way downtown for shopping and appointments, long before we had a bus system in Dawson Creek. If she was unable to get a ride from a friend, she would simply walk, regardless of the weather.
Carmela was stubborn and extremely strong. Carmela fell on a Saturday evening while shoveling snow in the driveway. She went to the hospital that same evening and had an x-ray taken. It turned out that she had fractured her pelvis. Angelo was away at the time, and when he called Carmela, she talked about everything else but the hospital. She talked about coffee and cookies with the Katsiokas, and that was all. To Angelo's surprise, he then received a call from the Katsiokas inquiring about her x-ray. At that point, Angelo then called Carmela back and eventually was able to pry out the full story from a very reluctant Carmela. The following day, Dr. Hargraves contacted Angelo to discuss the urgency of the situation, as Carmela needed to be admitted immediately for that broken pelvis. Further testing at the hospital revealed that Carmela was diabetic and needed treatment. Angelo was told that he had to get a blood glucose monitor machine for at home. Carmela immediately responded in Italian, which translated to, "You bring that machine near me and I will break it."
When Mama broke her first hip at the Solis parking lot, she declared that she wanted to have her Christmas lunch before going to the hospital. Regardless of the immense pain that she must have been feeling, she continued to be stubborn. That hot calamari plate was calling out to her and waiting for her. Luckily, common sense from the others prevailed, and she was transported to the hospital immediately. During November of 2022, Mama broke her second hip and spent quite a bit of time in the hospital. We've heard since that time that Mama would wheel herself around to the nurse's station and answer the phone. When she answered the phone and discovered it was not me on the other end, she would just simply hang up. So, needless to say, this created some problems, and they had to set up a fake phone for my mom. Her feisty and spunky attitude continued throughout her entire life. My mom was determined to do everything her way, only her way. She was fierce and spirited, and truly a force to be reckoned with.
Carmela loved Christmas. She loved the lights and bright decorations. She loved the special treats and seasonal music. She never met a dancing Santa that she didn't like. It was her favorite time of year. She even learned how to cook a turkey, which is not a traditional Italian meal. She was skeptical at first and refused to buy a roaster for her first attempt. She borrowed a roaster, and then when she successfully cooked her first turkey, she committed to buying a roaster for future Christmas dinners. We are so thankful that we had one final Christmas with her. We were able to watch her enjoy the lights and food and all the Christmas cheer. They are very special memories that will stay with us forever. Some of Carmela's family members and friends have shared some special memories and thoughts, which we'll read at this time. The first one is from her niece Linda in Montreal. My Zia Carmela was a dedicated and devoted spouse, mother, grandmother, and aunt to all of us. She was also a very brave and courageous young woman, which I admired. She came from a small village called Iopolo in Sicily and left her family and all she had ever known to start a new life in Montreal as a married woman. During her stay in Montreal, she gave birth to a wonderful baby boy, Angelo, who she loved and adored tremendously. However, Montreal was not the last journey she would take. A few years later, she started a new life and settled roots in Dawson Creek. There, alongside my uncle, she worked very hard to ensure that Angelo would obtain a proper education and one day would have a great career. Angelo, your mom was very proud of the man you have become. Well, in Dawson Creek, she also had the privilege and joy of cherishing two beautiful granddaughters, Amanda and Amy. During the many conversations I had with my aunt, she never ceased to express her gratitude towards Angelo and his wife Dion, how caring they were and would go above and beyond to provide for her, especially in the last few years, the many days and nights they stayed by her side until she took her last breath. On January 15th, she headed for her last journey, this time to be reunited with her beloved husband. You will truly be missed, and you will be in our thoughts always. Love, your niece, Linda.
And here's some words from Amanda and Amy, her cherished granddaughters and my daughters. Our Nonna was, in the best possible way, a stereotypical Italian grandmother. She was deeply kind and deeply stubborn. These qualities lived side by side in her, and they shaped how she loved. You were never hungry in her presence. In fact, while you were still eating dinner, she'd already be asking what you wanted for dinner tomorrow. Feeding people was how she showed care, how she made sure you were safe, happy, and home. She loved her family, her faith, her garden, and cooking. Although she stopped cooking as she got older, that part of her never left. We remember visiting her in Dawson and trying to make a soup that tasted like the one that she had always made. She watched for a bit, then she couldn't help herself. She stepped in, asking why we weren't using certain ingredients, reminding us how it's supposed to be done. It felt like her. She had many ways of loving people. She used to call and sing us happy birthday. She would pick peas with us every summer. She always made a bed for us. Her and Nono used to wave at the plane while we flew away. They would both drive us to every swim lesson and sit in those uncomfortable bleachers for way too many hours just to spend more time with us. Not one moment went by where we didn't know that we were loved. When we think about what she leaves behind, we think of food and love. We think of the ways love can be quietly passed down, one recipe and one habit at a time. Thank you for being our Nonna. Thank you for playing cards, scopa, with us, painting our nails together, and watching Italian soap operas. Most of all, thank you for waiting for us to FaceTime one last time.
That moment meant more than we can ever say. We'll miss her deeply and continue to carry her with us in our kitchens, at our tables, and in the unconditional love she taught us how to give. The next one is from Jerry Spataro. This was Carmela's nephew, also from Montreal. With Carmela's passing, we say goodbye to the last of our parents' generation, a generation whose love, resilience, and wisdom shaped us into who we are.
And now some words from Lisa Smart, now Pittman, one of the children that way back when my mom used to babysit. Carmela was a wonderful lady. She was a surrogate grandmother to me, babysitting me when I was a toddler. Whenever we visited, even a few years ago with my own toddler son, she always had double kisses and hugs. Photos were all over the house, even photos of me at various ages. She told stories, even in very broken English. She told you all about Joe, her granddaughters, neighbors, and her life. She always had pound cake and homemade donuts she would warm up with sugar. I never learned much Italian, but I always think of her when I hear, mangia, mangia.
Carmela loved her family far and near. She was a devoted wife to Joe for 55 years. She was a doting mother to Angelo and wanted him to succeed in every way possible. She was also an adoring mother to Amanda and Amy. She treasured the time she had with her granddaughters, whether it was in person, spending time such as harvesting vegetables, playing street hockey, or taking them places like their swimming lessons. At Christmas time in the summer months, she eagerly anticipated the arrival of her granddaughters and made special arrangements with respect to bedding and food. Everything had to be just right. She looked forward to their weekly phone calls and made them top priority regardless of what she was doing. One day, I happened to sing the Skinnamarink-Dink song from the Elephant Show to Carmela. To my amazement, she sang it back, especially the part that says, "I love you." From that point on, we used to sing it together on a regular basis. I recently found out that she had previously given her granddaughters a special teddy bear that sang that Skinnamarink-Dink song. Throughout the years, Carmela formed many special relationships with friends and neighbors who became friends over coffee, crema, sponge cake, and cookies. She shared stories, laughter, warmth, and love. Carmela was a blessing to others, and she was blessed with many wonderful friends. Every time we would say goodbye to Carmela, I would say, "I love you, Mama," and she would say, "I love you too, Joya."
And I would say to her, "Io ti amo, Mama," and she would say back, "Io ti amo."
She would then kiss both of us on both of our cheeks, stand at the glass door, and we would blow kisses back and forth as she waved goodbye. Today, we stand here and say goodbye to Mama one last time. I love you, Mama.
Io ti amo, Mama.
Although we say goodbye to Carmela, she will always be loved and always in our hearts.
Wasn't that fantastic? I knew we were going to hear wonderful stories and a wonderful tribute. Thank you so much. Well, it was my goal to make sure that we laughed a little bit today because of this tribute from Reynars' website. Sorry to hear of the passing of your mom, Carmela. We were not only neighbors but friends, spent many afternoons over a cup of coffee having good conversations, sometimes not sure what was said, but we would laugh anyway. Her and Joe will remain in our hearts forever. Our condolences to you, Dion, and your girls from Barb and Tom Horn. I thought that was a lovely little tribute. And so, after reading that, I realized that there were probably a lot of times that communication was difficult for Carmela. Yet it didn't keep her from making friends and being a friend. There were several lovely tributes for Carmela, and I'm so glad that friends and family took time to give a little insight into who she was. As I said earlier in the service, Angelo and Dion were honorable, yet truthful as they described Carmela, and I was prompted to do a little research about being Italian. And I came across an article titled, "Mamma Mia, 14 Signs You Were Raised in an Italian Household." And I thought I would just share a few things from that. I will not read everything. It was really big. But it says, and you will now be able to relate after that beautiful eulogy, you grew up eating the best food in town. Espresso was your childhood energy drink. I heard about espresso at that home. If you were the child of an Italian mother, you never stopped suffering her public displays of affection. It doesn't matter if you were in your teens and hanging out with friends after school, or if you're 40-something and socializing with colleagues. Your mom will always address you as il mio bambino, is that correct? She will hug and kiss you as if she hasn't seen you in years, when in fact you just had lunch together. You learned life lessons at the dinner table. She always takes your side, publicly. Your fashion sense is taken as reflection on her failure or success as a mother. You are a master at cheek kissing. The double, sometimes triple cheek kiss was your standard greeting, an art form that required precision and timing. You are very affectionate and you respect your elders. Angelo, in every conversation we have had, you have proven to me over and over again that you loved and respected your parents. Weren't you blessed? Yeah. So let's have the PowerPoint.
canzone ti dice che è il più bel giorno per me. Mamma, son tanto felice, viver lontano perché, mamma, solo per te la mia canzone vola. Mamma, sarai con me, tu non sarai più sola. Quanto ti voglio bene, queste parole d'amore, e ti sospiro al mio cuore, ore se non s'usano più. Mamma, la canzone mia più bella sei tu la vita, e per la vita non ti lascio mai più. Sento la mano tua stanca, cerca i miei riccioli d'or, sento e la voce ti manca, la ninna nanna d'allor. Oggi la testa tua bianca io voglio stringere al cuore. Quanto ti voglio bene, queste parole d'amore, che ti sospiro al mio cuore, ore se non s'usano più. Mamma, la canzone mia più bella sei tu la vita, e per la vita non ti lascio mai più.
Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Stamattina mi sono alzato e ho trovato l'invaso. Oh partigiano, portami via. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Partigiano, portami via, che mi sento di morire. E se io muoio da partigiano, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E se muoio da partigiano, tu mi devi seppellire, e seppellire lassù in montagna. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Seppellire lassù in montagna, sotto l'ombra di un bel fior. Tutte le genti che passeranno, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E le genti che passeranno ti diranno che bel fior. E questo è il fiore del partigiano. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto per la libertà. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto per la libertà. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto per la libertà. Questo è il fiore del partigiano.
Paese mio che stai sulla collina, disteso come un vecchio addormentato, la noia, l'abbandono, il niente son la tua malattia. Paese mio ti lascio, io vado via. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. So far tutto o forse niente, da domani si vedrà. E sarà quel che sarà. Gli amici miei son quasi tutti via e gli altri partiranno dopo me. Peccato perché stavo bene in loro compagnia, ma tutto passa, tutto se ne va. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. Con me porti alla chitarra e se la notte piangerò, di una linea di paese suonerò. Amore mio, ti bacio sulla bocca, che fu la fonte del mio primo amore. Ti do l'appuntamento come quando non lo so, ma so soltanto che ritornerò. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. Con me porti alla chitarra e se la notte piangerò, di una linea di paese suonerò. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. Con me porti alla chitarra e se la notte piangerò, di una legna di paese suonerò. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. So far tutto, forse niente, da domani si vedrà. E sarà, sarà quel che sarà. E sarà, e sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. Con me porti alla chitarra e se la notte piangerò, di una linea di paese suonerò. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà della mia vita, chi lo sa. Con me porti alla chitarra.
Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo, I love you. Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo, I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo, I love you too. Boop boop be doo.
Quando sono sola sogno all'orizzonte e mancano le parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei tu con me, sì. Le finestre mostrar tutto il mio cuore che è acceso. Chiudi dentro me la luce che ha incontrato per
lontana, sogno all'orizzonte, manca le parole. E io sì lo so che sei con me, tu mia luna, tu sei qui con me, mio sole, tu sei qui con me, con me, con me, con me. Time to say goodbye, paesi che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con te, adesso sì li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, non esistono più, con te io li vivrò, con te partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, non esistono più, con te io li vivrò, con te
Don't you just feel like clapping? Wow, a beautiful eulogy and a beautiful photo tribute. Well, let's finish up. After nearly 39 years of marriage, preparing thousands of meals and baking countless dinner rolls and barbecuing or roasting pounds, nay tons of tender Peace Country roast beef, I have recently learned that I have been salting my food incorrectly. And I am here to tell you that I am sure Carmela never once salted anything incorrectly. Take, for instance, pasta. Salt the water. Salty water is essential because it boosts the flavor of pasta. Salt it good. That's what I read. Don't just give a single tap of the shaker. You want at least a tablespoon for 6 quarts of water. Salting, according to Chef Keith Saracen, is an art form that takes a while to master, apparently 39 years, just so you know. And Chef Patty Yinich says just a dash of salt brings all the flavor to the surface and makes them shine together. Apparently, in order to get the oomph back into my home-cooked meals, I'm to follow these top chefs' tips for salting. I'm not going to review the rest of them, but honestly, I did learn a few things. So these tips can also be an analogy for life. Life takes a while to master. And a dash of seasoning like laughter, kindness, and courtesy goes a long way in relationships. You see, Jesus tells us in Matthew 5:13 that if we have put our faith and trust in him, we are to be like salt, affecting the people around us and being a representative of God's presence in the world. We should influence others positively, just like salt brings out the best flavor in food. People who are described as the salt of the earth are those who are considered to be of great worth and reliability. Carmela was definitely salty, and she affected the lives of others. Angelo, I don't know if you spotted this tribute. Now I do know because he read it. I didn't know he was going to be reading it, but I'm going to read it too from Jerry Spataro, his cousin in Montreal. Was that correct? Jerry put it this way. With your mother's passing, we say goodbye to the last of our parents' generation, a generation whose love, resilience, and wisdom shaped us into who we are. So with those words in mind, I'd like to close the end of the service now with the last verse of a poem from American poetess Maya Angelou. Angelou? I don't know how to say it, but I thought Angelo would be okay. It's called When Great Trees Fall, and this is the last verse. When great souls die, after a period, peace blooms slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you to please rise for Carmela.